We beat the champions-elect in Manchester City, we draw against the previous champions in Liverpool, and we draw against our greatest rivals in Man United, but we just still cannot seem to get a win at Brighton. That makes it now 8 out of our last games against them that we've lost. Despicable, if you ask me, but there are a couple of shining lights that we can look through in this game. If you do end up enjoying the video, then a like would always be appreciated, but let's not waste any more of your time with that needless chitter chatter. Let's get straight into the meat of the action. So just like last week, it really was quite a placid affair. There wasn't really too much zip and zap in the play, and I was saying to some people in the live stream earlier that I just feel like we really need the fans in the stadium now, because it is coming to that business end of the season where a lot of teams know they're either not going to get relegated, they're not going to push for Europe, they're not going to win the title. So a lot of the games, there's just energy missing. There's just some little bit of magic sparkle missing that the fans could deliver, because there's no way you can be half asleep when fans have paid hundreds of quid to make it there. So I feel like that is definitely a lacking point. We started off slow, we started off shaky, we ended up getting a little bit of play going towards the 6th, 7th minute, and then they got up the other end, and Alioski, what the hell were you thinking, man? Diving to ground like that, grappling him with your elbow, man, completely taking Danny Welbeck out, who, of course, I'm going to have to label man of the match after his second goal, but I'll get into that a bit later. Ali, it's so sad, because, look, we got a few games left now. It could be the last time we see so many of these great players for us, so many of these players that got us out of the doldrums into the Premier League, one of them being Alioski and one of them being Pablo Hernandez, who I'll speak about later. But it's looking like Alioski's off, and I don't want my dying memories of him to be that. That stupid, needless challenge really shouldn't have been making it. There was really no danger present at all. No need for it. Nonetheless, he takes him down, ends up giving a penalty. Of course they do. Anytime there's any kind of question as to whether there should be a penalty against us, you're damn right the officials are giving it. They give it. Pascal Gross slots it into the bottom left corner. Meslier ended up getting a hand to it, but not enough of a connection. And then for the rest of the half, we had a bit of play. We had the majority of the possession, but we weren't doing anything with it. See, Brighton were actually cutting us open. The midfield runners again. Ben White had us on strings at times there. Ben White was just running through 3-4 Leeds United players, just like last time he played them. These midfield runners, we cannot track them without Calvin Phillips. Without Calvin Phillips, we cannot deal with the midfield runners. We miss him so much, and this is why I wanted Brighton to get relegated, because I want Ben White, because he is the one other person that can slot in that Calvin Phillips role and can do a job. We put Robin Koch there today. He had a few nice plays on the ball, but generally he wasn't doing that. His positioning wasn't good enough. He wasn't tenacious enough. And he just doesn't have the spatial awareness that you need to play in that midfield role. The radar, as I always talk about, knowing what's going on around you 3 steps ahead of everyone else. The thing that Calvin Phillips has, the thing that Pablo Hernandez has, Robin Koch doesn't quite have it, unfortunately. And that kind of play happened throughout the half. They were getting through us, they were creating things, and then we'd hit them on the counter-attack. We did hit them on the counter-attack quite a few times. Dallas had a time, played a nice 1-2 with Klitsch, and then ended up coming down the right-hand side of the flank, crossing it in, and typical story of the game was just the crosses, the needless, wasteful crosses, the amount of times we put these dead balls in. We get near the box and we just rush, we just kick it. We wouldn't look where we're kicking it, we wouldn't go for a cute cutback, we just whip it, and you've got to look at the team you're playing against. Dunk, yeah? Dunk is about 6'7". And then you've got Webster there, who's also about 6'5" odd. And you're just whipping it into them again and again and again. And they're hoovering it all up like that. That is their bread and butter. They're typical Brexit defenders. They just want balls in the air that they can clean out. And we played straight into their hands today, just giving them crosses after crosses after crosses that were not causing danger in the slightest. And we were the masters of our own downfall today. Second half, I was speaking with my man Tom White, and he was telling me we've got to bring Pervader on. For me, I feel like he made this point perfectly about the fact that Dunk and Webster were just cleaning everything up out there. and that Poveda could potentially impact the game. We did ended up bringing on Poveda for Alioski, surprisingly, and then pushing Dallas down to left back. To be fair, Dallas didn't do too much on that right-hand side of the midfield, so he wasn't so much of a loss there. And again, at left back, he did a job, but wasn't too visible. Poveda is the man I want to focus on, though. Poveda, he had a few sparkles of things. He wasn't losing the ball. He was taking on 3-4 players, but he wasn't getting anywhere with it. He was running towards his own goal half the time, and he was just trying too hard. You know, when you really want to prove a point and you really want to score, you really want to assist, you really want to take someone on, and you're just trying it every single time you get the ball and it's not working. It's something RAPHINHA does quite a lot, but RAPHINHA, he's so good that he can pull it off every time. And I do really, really believe in Poveda. But today, he was just trying a bit too hard. It wasn't coming off for him. He was getting bullied at times out there. Welbeck absolutely cleaned him out a couple of times. Mopai pushed him over. It looked like a tornado had struck Poveda, for Pete's sake. He went flying off the pitch then. Yeah, Duncan Webster coming across, Ben White coming across and cleaning Poveda out. And just generally, Poveda did look like he was up against it, physically at least. And it wasn't quite what I wanted from him. Nevertheless, I still do have faith in him. And I do think that he can pull out performances if he gets a bit more game time. And he just composes himself. He relaxes, he calms himself down, takes a couple of deep breaths. Then we get the real Poveda. Then we get the Poveda that we want, the Poveda that shines, the Poveda that scores goals, the Poveda that tears teams apart, the Poveda that should have got a penalty to make it 2-2 against Chelsea, where he took on 3 or 4 of their players into the box. That kind of Poveda is the Poveda I want to see more often. The other substitute we did bring in was, of course, Rodrigo, who came on for Patrick Bamford. Patrick Bamford, again, another one of his poorer games. I don't think he's really impacted the game this or his past 3-4 games. They haven't been the sharpest. He hasn't been getting on the ball a lot. He hasn't been knocking himself about enough. But I'm not going to hate on the guy. He's still had a fantastic season. Of course he has. It's just the past 3 or 4 games, he hasn't really been up to scratch. One player who hadn't been up to scratch the past 3 or 4 games, who was this time though, was Jack Harrison, who in my opinion was our best player today. I feel like it went Jack Harrison, then Pablo Hernandez when he came on, and then maybe Tyler Roberts after that, who did look quite energetic. But Jack Harrison, he was trying everything today. He was knocking himself about. He was running down the line. He was taking players on. He was always offering a threat. He was always offering something. His delivery again just let him down today. If he had a better delivery on him, then it would have fruited in some goals for us, and it would have really secured him that man of the match, because he did play fantastically aside from that, in my humble opinion at least. But what do you guys think? Do you think Jack Harrison was all that? What did you think of Bamford's performance? And what do you think of Rodrigo? What do you think of Rodrigo? Because it's no surprise that it hasn't exactly worked out as he would have wanted this year. He hasn't been the main man. He hasn't been starting over Bamford. And now Bamford has started to slow down his form over the past 3-4 match weeks. It is giving Rodrigo an opportunity to shine. But he's not taking it, in my opinion. I feel like he has the quality there. Again, trying a bit too hard, trying a bit too many things, and it's just not quite coming off for him. Very sad, because again, I do think he is an elite player. He just needs to get it out more consistently and just show what he can do. Maybe get him back in that midfield role. Maybe that's where he plays. But what do you guys think about him? Do you think we're going to sell him, or do you think we will keep him? I have a sneaky suspicion that although he's muddied up the rumours, that we may get rid in August. Also, speaking of Poveda, I did ask this to the people in the watch along. Just saying, I do live watch alongs for these games now, so if you do want to come and watch it with me, that would be very much appreciated. I just love having a conversation with you. I had a conversation with a couple of top guys in there before, top Leeds fans themselves, and I was speaking about Poveda, and I was saying, if you had to choose between Costa and Poveda, one of them goes in the summer, one of them has to start the first 5 games of next season. So one of them has to play, one of them has to go. Who are you keeping? Who are you selling? Because I feel like adding that first 5 games in does kind of change the demographic of the question, because you can't just leave them as a bench warmer. So I'm saying one of them's got to play and one of them's got to go. Who do you take out? For me, personally, I love Costa. But I think Poveda is just, there's something in there. There's a real gem in there that needs to be unleashed. Maybe you could say he needs a loan spell out to get a bit of confidence going, to get a bit of momentum going. I don't think that's the case. I think he needs time in this Leeds United side to get that going. But will he get it with Jack Harrison performing week in, week out? With, of course, RAPHINHA performing week in, week out. And with, of course, Helder Costa still holding his own in there. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on that. It's such a tough one. It's such a tough one, isn't it? But for me, Poveda has to be the man. Aside from that, another key performer I do want to touch on is, of course, Luke Ayling. I feel like he was a great leader there. He was marshalling the defence well. He was vocal. He was a leading presence in a game of a lot of tumultuary, a lot of passive possession, a lot of passive play. He was in there, he was putting himself about, he was tenacious, he was energetic, and he was leading as you're meant to. Without Calvin Phillips playing, without Liam Cooper playing, we need a leader in that side. We need someone vocal. We need someone who can lead by example, show what we need to do, show how we need to play, and that's exactly what I feel Luke Ayling was today. I feel like he played fantastically. And I can't really say anything bad about the guy. He did perform well. Aside from that, Llorente and Struijk, they were decent. They weren't fantastic. They did leave a lot to be desired in a couple of moments in the pitch. The rest of the time, they were kind of forcing Brighton to take pot shots. Brighton did have a couple of gilt-edged chances in and around the 8-yard box, which you can't really say is their fault because it is probably the midfield player that should be tracking that. But Virgil van Struijk, man, I back you to the death. I still back you to the death. I still believe you are the future of our defence. But for that Welbeck goal, what on earth were you playing at? The ball's bouncing around. It's going to Meslier, and Virgil van Struijk just decides, let's just start doing a few keep yuppies. Let's flick it behind my head, nonchalantly without looking. Flicks it up, and who's there? Danny Welbeck. Drops back a tiny bit, sees the ball bouncing, and oh my word, what a goal. It infuriated me, but we are football purists here on this channel. We do love the beautiful art of football, and it must be said that that goal was simply sensational. The touch, the ball comes up in the air, and then first time on the bounce, kind of like Phil Foden did for England before. Ronaldo chops it right the second the ball hits the ground. He chops it so it perfectly spins into his running path, into his left foot, and then he shows it. He can use both feet. Danny Welbeck. This is what's so quality about the guy. The guy was not only tenacious, he was not only running everywhere today, but he showed quality when his side needed it, not only in earning the penalty, but in scoring the 2-0. What an underrated player, that's all I'm saying. Sure, he's Bambi on ice. Sure, sometimes he looks a bit clunky. But aren't we all sometimes? Don't we all have those moments of lack of balance? You know, looking a bit clunky, a bit boxy in our play. We all have that. And Danny Welbeck, I feel like, has really gone under the radar. And what a signing he has been for them. He can just do it all, man. He can do it all. He's quick. He's skillful. He's got a great shot on him. And he's very strong. He's a good presence. And he's an absolute workhorse. That's something that I saw a lot in his play for Arsenal. He was an absolute workhorse. And he was like that today again. Tracking back, running forward, all over the gaff. And like I say, that touch for the goal. Oh my God, it was sublime. Sublime. The effortless way he just calmly put it straight into his path. Perfect weight on the touch. It was fantastic. Very annoying, but fantastic nonetheless. And that was all she wrote after that Danny Welbeck goal came in. We had about 12 minutes left of the game. But again, every time we got forward, sloppy crosses, going hitting the first man every time, not creating enough space, not getting the ball into a dangerous enough area. And it was just the tail of the game. It was that again. It was so unfortunate to see. The ball did come out to Dallas. He had a pot shot from outside of the box. Volleyed it just over the bar. And that was about all we had. That was the greatest chance we had. Rodrigo, again, a couple of times the ball came near him. His touch wasn't fantastic. Messed up about one opportunity. You could say it was a bit of a half chance. But again, nothing else in the game for us. But before I do end, I do want to talk about one player, and that is Pablo Hernandez. If he goes, I know he put a bid in for himself. I'm pretty sure it's like a team in the 3rd League of Spain. I don't know what his team's called that he owns, but they actually did put a bid in for Pablo Hernandez this summer. So it's almost as if he's tried to buy himself. It's really weird, and I do feel like that is a sign that he is potentially going to move on and he is going to leave us in the summer. I just hope he plays against West Brom at home at Ellen Road so we can give him a send-off. The guy deserves a testimonial with 100,000 fans, man. He is the man who single-handedly dragged us out of the Championship, kicking and screaming. He was our best player by a country mile both of those years, and you can't argue with that. The guy was quality. He stepped up when we needed him most, time in, time out, time in, time out, every single week. He was pulling something out of the bag. He was phenomenal for us, and I'll never forget him. I'll never forget Hernandez. He is one of the most graciously beautiful, elegant players I've ever seen play for Leeds United. He's so good. His IQ is levels above everyone else. And I just want to see him get the send-off he deserved. That goal against Swansea is probably the most important goal I've seen in my Leeds United lifetime. The only goal that I can compare it to is the Jermaine Beckford against Man U 1-0 at the Stretford end. But this one, you could say, had more riding on it. So it was potentially more important. And I'm so gutted that there were no fans there to witness that. Because it would have just made watching back that goal 10 times better than it already is. It's already fantastic to look back at it. But just see the limbs with the fans, him running over to the away fans. It would have been something to behold. But nonetheless, what a goal, what a player. And today, again, I really hope we don't lose him. I really hope we don't. Not only because of how much of a legend he is, but he still has so much to offer. Sure, he's been off the pace in quite a few games this year. Sure, he's looked a bit lethargic at times. He's looked tired. He's looked heavy-legged. But when he plays like he did today, when he plays like he did in that second half against Spurs, when he plays like he did in that second half against Leicester, he is an invaluable asset, especially if we do bring a Rodrigo de Paul or someone in. We could really do with a Pablo Hernandez to help cultivate them into the team, into the playing style. Because today, while we had so many times when we were getting on the edge of the box and the final ball was just poor, it was not on, the technique wasn't there, it wasn't good enough, that's where Pablo Hernandez would have played the ball in perfectly. He would have used a bit of his IQ, his magical Spanish flair and IQ. He would have created something out of nothing like he does all the time. And I feel like if he played a bit more this game, if he came on in maybe the 50th, 60th minute, came on when Rodrigo did, then it could have been a very different outlook to the game. He was playing some nice stuff today. He has an absolute radar on him, what I was talking about earlier. He knows exactly where to be at exactly the right time. He always knows what's going on around him. He's 3 steps ahead of everyone else. And he just does these little simple passes. It's such simple passes, but no one else can do them. No one else knows how or when to play them. And the reason it looks so simple is because he is 3 to 5 steps ahead of everyone. So he knows exactly when to play the ball, exactly what ball to play, exactly the weight to put on the ball. He's just a cut above. He is just a cut above. It's as simple as that. And I really, really beg we keep him. I don't care how much we have to spend to give him another year, another 2 years on his contract. I'll give him another 3 years for what he's done. Keep him at the club at all costs. We need him. We cannot afford to lose Pablo. Whether he's playing or he's not, or he's playing here and there, we cannot afford to lose him. It's very sad. I hope him and BIELSA haven't fallen out. I really hope that's not true. Because what a partnership they were. They both needed each other. They both needed each other. And I love BIELSA more than anything. I love him with all my heart. But if it wasn't for Pablo, we wouldn't have got out of the Championship. They relied on each other. They both had such a positive impact on each other. It's unbelievable. And so far, he's probably, along with Calvin Phillips, BIELSA's most important player that he's had. Sure, he hasn't really been that vital in the Premier League. But what he's done for the club in getting us up here in the games that I have seen him play in the Premier League, where he has played well, he has so much going for him. He has so much going for him. So I pray we keep him. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on that matter though, because obviously I do feel a very personal connection to Pablo Hernandez for the things I've seen him do in the flesh, on the TV, on anywhere. Everything I admire about football is everything he shows. Except from pace and agility and dribbling and that kind of stuff. every single thing else, the close control, the technique, the vision, the pure elegance of the way he touches the ball, the gracious manner in which he kicks the ball, in which he strikes, in which he passes, in which he crosses. Everything is just so effortless and beautiful and orgasmic, sublime, sublimely orgasmic to watch. But what do you guys think about it? What do you guys think of Bavada? What did you guys think of the performance in general? Wasn't that great today, was it? It was a bit dull. But we move. We can't hate the boys. We did just get 5 points out of a very, very tricky 3 fixtures. So, you know what? Maybe we were due a bogey game like this. And they just are a bogey team, aren't they? Much like Cardiff, they're just our bogey team. It's as simple as that. You've got to look at the facts. Brighton and Cardiff are bogey teams. It doesn't matter what's going on with us. It doesn't matter what's going on with them. They just always seem to pull it out of the bag against us. We had the 3-3 against Cardiff last year. We then lost to them in their ground after COVID, when we were on the 7-game winning streak. Brighton again, we've lost 8 out of our last 9 games against them. It just doesn't seem to work against those two sides, but you always have those sides in football. Every side has their bogey side, and hopefully we can turn it around soon and manage to beat them, because I do want them to get relegated so I can add that Ben White. But hey, if there are any Brighton fans watching, what did you guys think of the game? What did you think of your performance? What do you think of Danny Welbeck, man? Absolutely quality. An absolute gem you've unmuffed there. But anyway, thank you ever so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, then a like would always be appreciated. And hey, are you a Leeds fan? Are you a Brighton fan? Are you a fan of football or fighting in general? If so, check out my channel. I do live watch-alongs, I do reactions, I do analysis, I do preview. And I like speaking with you lot. I like having this community of young, forward-thinking football and sports fans in general to just break down what's going on, have a conversation. Let's just talk football, talk fighting, talk all of this stuff together and build a nice community spirit here. There's nothing I love more than chatting with you guys. And if you do end up enjoying some of those videos and you do think, you know what, this is a bit of me, I want to get involved, I want to join the community, I want to join the family and have a bit of conversation with you, get my points across, then hey, you are 100,000,000% welcome. And what I will say to that is subscribe so that you can keep up exactly when I am uploading and obviously join in the fun. But if not, and you want to let me know what a twat I am, what I can improve on, then those are always appreciated as well. But nonetheless, guys, thank you ever so much for watching. You mean more to me than you'll ever know. And I'll see you in the next video, which is hopefully going to be a preview of a crushing victory. Catch you there.